You've been working for 10 years, maybe 15. Where is the money? You earn well. You are not reckless. You are not lazy. But at the end of every month, the account looks almost the same. That is not bad luck. That is a system. And today I want to show you how that system works against you. Stay until the end. The final lesson is the one that will change the number. This is English Story Studio. Real lessons about money and wealth. In English you can follow. The most comfortable period of my life was also the period I stopped building. I had a decent salary. I had a car. I had an apartment I was proud of. I had enough. And enough turned out to be the most dangerous word in personal finance, because enough means stop. And stop, in a world that keeps moving, means fall behind. Slowly, quietly, without any alarm to wake you up. I know your situation. You work hard. You earn real money every month. But at the end of the month, you look at your account. You wonder where it went. Not on stupid things. On life. On the cost of living like someone who worked hard and deserved it. That feeling is real. The feeling that you have earned a little comfort. That is exactly where the trap begins. Nobody told me this either. Nobody sits you down and explains that the middle class is not a destination. It is a mechanism. It runs on habits, beliefs, and small decisions. These decisions feel completely reasonable every single time you make them, and that is what makes it so effective. It does not feel like a trap. It feels like progress. Today, I want to show you 7 lessons. Lessons about why comfort costs more than most people know. Not lessons from a classroom. Lessons that came from real mistakes and real losses, and from the kind of thinking that only starts when something forces it. Let's go to lesson 1, and it might be the most uncomfortable one. Here is a question I want you to sit with. When was the last time you felt financially hungry? Not anxious, not worried. Hungry, that feeling of chasing something, building toward a number that was not there yet. If you need more than 5 seconds to answer, you already have your answer. The comfort ceiling is not visible. That is what makes it so effective. It is the invisible upper limit of financial effort. It forms the moment your income reaches enough. And once it forms, almost everything you do financially stays inside it. Here is the mechanism. The human brain is designed to conserve energy. When your basic needs are met, your brain reduces the pressure it generates. When your status needs are met, it relaxes further. When your safety needs are met, it stops pushing entirely. This is not a character flaw. This is biology. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do, but what keeps you safe is not always what builds wealth. The middle class is the most comfortable income level humans have ever created. You have health care. You have a car. You have a home or a solid apartment. You take vacations. You eat well. Every signal your brain receives says the same thing. You are safe. You are stable. You have enough. And your brain responds by releasing the pressure. Now here is the part that almost nobody explains clearly. Wealth is not built inside the comfort zone. Not for a motivational reason. For a specific financial mechanism. Wealth requires capital allocation. Capital allocation requires surplus. Surplus requires producing more than you consume, and producing more than you consume requires sustained pressure. The kind that comfort removes. I know someone who earned $60,000 a year for 8 years. Every year, he earned a little more. Every year, his lifestyle rose to meet it. At the end of those 8 years, he had a nicer car, a bigger apartment, and a better phone. He had almost no savings, not because he was irresponsible. Because he was irresponsible. Because he was comfortable. Every purchase felt justified. Every upgrade felt earned, and nothing in his environment pushed back against it. Robert Kiyosaki describes this pattern with a specific name. He calls it the rat race. You earn money. The government takes a portion. You spend the rest on things that cost you money every month. Then you need more income to cover those costs. So you work harder. You earn more. The cycle repeats. Each step feels like success. You keep moving forward inside the cage. But you cannot see the cage because you are focused on moving. The comfort ceiling also reinforces itself over time. The more comfortable you become, the harder you work to protect that comfort. You make safer career choices. You avoid financial risk. You choose the predictable bonus over the uncertain opportunity, not because you are afraid, because you have something to lose. And the more you feel you have to lose, the smaller your financial moves become. Here is what I have noticed in people who break through the ceiling. They do not wait to feel motivated. They do not wait for an external push. They create pressure on purpose. They set a savings target that is uncomfortable. They commit to a financial goal before they feel ready. They move money somewhere difficult to reach. Not because they enjoy difficulty, because they understand that without pressure, the ceiling holds. Stop right here. Think about the last real financial decision you faced. A job offer you turned down. A business idea you did not pursue. An investment you researched but never made. Be honest about the reason. Was it logic or was it protection? Was it a rational calculation? Or was it the instinct to keep what you already have exactly where it is? That question is not comfortable. Good. That means it is useful. Here is the action for this lesson. Write down your monthly income today. Then write down what you were earning 5 years ago. Calculate the difference. Now write your current savings rate as a percentage of your income. Then write your savings rate from 5 years ago. The gap between income growth and savings growth is your comfort ceiling, measured in real numbers. Most people have never done this calculation. Most people are surprised by what they find, and once you see the number clearly, you cannot pretend the ceiling is not there. 5 years ago, most people you know would have been satisfied with your current salary, not permanently satisfied, but satisfied enough to stop pushing as hard. They were earning less, looking at a higher number, and telling themselves, if I just reached that level, things would be different. Then they reached it. Almost nothing changed. That is not a personal failure. That is a mechanism with a name. It is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the most expensive tax most people ever pay, because it never appears on any bill. Here is how it works. Your income rises. Maybe a promotion, maybe a better job, maybe a raise you negotiated yourself. The extra money arrives in your account, and almost immediately your spending rises to meet it. Not all at once, gradually. A slightly better restaurant, a slightly newer phone, a car payment that feels manageable now, a vacation, a little longer than last year's. Each decision is completely logical on its own. Together, they consume every extra dollar you earned. The psychological mechanism behind this has a name. It is called hedonic adaptation. Your brain returns to a baseline level of satisfaction regardless of what changes in your life. The new car feels exciting for a few months. Then it becomes the normal car. The bigger apartment feels spacious. Then it becomes the expected space. The restaurant you could not afford 2 years ago is now the restaurant you go to without thinking. Your happiness stays roughly the same, but your costs are permanently higher. And the next raise you get will simply raise the baseline again. I know someone who went from $35,000 a year to $90,000 over 7 years. An increase of $55,000 per year. Real growth on paper, but at $90,000, his savings rate was almost identical to his rate at 35. His lifestyle had expanded to fill every raise. He had a nicer life. He had almost no additional wealth. When I showed him this calculation, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I thought I was getting richer. I was just getting more expensive to run. Here is a specific number that matters. Research on income and savings behavior shows a consistent pattern. When income rises by 10%, the average person increases their savings by less than 2%. The other 8% disappears into upgraded living. This happens across income levels. It is not a problem of not earning enough. It is a problem of not capturing any portion of each raise before lifestyle absorbs it. Warren Buffett has lived in the same house in Omaha since 1958. He bought it for $31,500. It is now worth well over $1 million. But the house is not the point. The point is the principle. Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in history, never allowed his lifestyle to expand in proportion to his income. He has stated this directly. Every dollar spent upgrading his lifestyle was $1 removed from the compounding process, and compounding over decades is the real engine of serious wealth. Most people understand compounding in theory. Almost nobody applies it to lifestyle decisions. The math is not subtle. $1 invested at 25, compounding at 8% annually, becomes approximately $10 by age 55. Every dollar going into lifestyle inflation is not just $1. It is 10 future dollars. The upgraded restaurant, the newer phone, the nicer car. These are not small decisions. They are compounding decisions in reverse. Open your banking app right now. Go to the last 12 months of transactions. Do not look for the big, unusual expenses. Look for the recurring ones. Subscriptions, delivery apps, memberships you barely use, restaurant patterns. Add them up. Then ask yourself, when did each one begin? Do any of them coincide with a raise or an income increase? For most people, the answer is yes, more often than they expect. Here is the action for this lesson. Take your last 3 salary increases. Write down the amount of each one. Then look at your bank statements from before and after each raise. Calculate how much your monthly spending increased each time. Subtract that from the raise amount. What remains is what you actually kept. For most people, this number is smaller than they expected, sometimes much smaller. The goal from your next raise is straightforward, but it requires a decision now, before the money arrives. Decide what percentage you will move directly to savings before lifestyle can reach it. Not after the money lands. Before. The decision made before is the only one that holds. 90% of people in the middle class believe they are building assets. Most of them are building liabilities. That is not a criticism. It is a definition problem. And the definition problem costs real money over a lifetime without anyone ever sitting down to explain why. Robert Kiyosaki draws one distinction that changes how you see your entire financial picture. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That is the complete test. Not what it cost you. Not how it looks. Not what people think when they see it. One question only. Does it put money in your pocket or take money out? Apply that test to the average middle-class balance sheet. Something uncomfortable appears. The house fails. The new car fails. The expensive watch fails. The furniture bought on credit fails. Most of what the middle class calls wealth is a collection of items that require monthly money to maintain, insure, and service. They look like wealth. They feel like success. By the financial definition, they are doing the opposite. Let me be specific about the house, because this is where the most pushback comes. I'm not saying do not own a home. I am saying know what it actually costs. Consider a home worth $300,000. The mortgage payment on a 20-year loan might be $1,600 per month. Property tax adds another $200. Insurance $100. Maintenance, financial planners typically estimate 1% of property value per year. That is $250 per month. You are already over $2,000 a month before a single repair, before any renovation, before the cost of your time managing the property. The usual response is, but the value goes up. Sometimes, yes. The long-run global average for real home price appreciation, adjusted for inflation, is approximately 1% per year. 1%. Meanwhile, that same $2,000 per month, invested consistently over 20 years at a historical market return, produces a dramatically different number. Not slightly different, dramatically. But the home comparison is only part of the illusion. Consider the car. The average car loan payment in most countries is now over $400 per month. Add insurance, fuel, and maintenance. You are spending $700 to $1,000 per month on something that loses 20 to 30% of its value in the first 2 years. This is considered normal in the middle class. That is the problem. The difference between a 2-year-old used vehicle and a new financed one is often $300 per month. $300 per month, invested consistently for 15 years, becomes a meaningful number. That is not a small choice disguised as a routine one. That is a compounding decision disguised as a routine one. I know someone who bought his first home at 32. He was proud of it. He should have been. Over the next 12 years, every surplus he had went into that home. New kitchen, bathroom renovation, landscaping. The home was beautiful. When he sold at 44, he made a profit on paper, but when he calculated everything he had put in, the mortgage interest, the renovations, the opportunity cost of that capital not invested elsewhere, he had barely broken even in real terms. 12 years. Almost no financial return, and a complete belief every single year that he was building wealth. The asset illusion is powerful because it is visible. You can stand inside it. You can show it to people. Investments in a brokerage account are numbers on a screen. Nobody walks through them. Nobody photographs them at a family dinner. And invisible things are psychologically harder to feel proud of. Even when they are working harder for you than anything you can touch. This is one of the core reasons the middle class stays financially stuck. The assets they can see and feel are not building wealth. The assets that actually build wealth are harder to hold emotionally. Humans make financial decisions with their emotions far more than they know. We choose the house because we can walk through it. We choose the car because we can drive it. We choose the watch because we can wear it. All of these feel like tangible progress. None of them compound. Here's the question for this lesson. List everything you currently call an asset. For each item, apply the test. Does it put money in your pocket or take money out? Be specific. Be honest. Some items will be obvious. Some will surprise you. That list, with honest answers, is your actual balance sheet. Not the one that feels good. The real one. That balance sheet tells you more about your financial future than any salary number will. Peter Drucker put it this way. In turbulent times, the real danger is not the turbulence. The real danger is acting with yesterday's logic. The middle class was built on a specific logic. Get educated. Get hired. Get promoted. Stay loyal. Retire with a pension. That logic worked for a particular era. That era is changing faster than most people are tracking. And the people still operating on that logic feel the ceiling most clearly. Here is what a salary actually is. It is a single source income. One relationship, you and one employer. That relationship is governed by a contract that either party can end, and most people build their entire financial life on top of that one relationship. Then they call it security. I want to say something clearly before going further. I'm not saying quit your job. The salary is real income. It pays real bills. What I am saying is, understand what it is, and understand what it costs you beyond the numbers on the contract. The salary costs you something not written anywhere. It costs you optionality. Every hour you spend doing your job is an hour not spent building something else. Every year you stay comfortable in a salary role. Your identity attaches more to that role. Your skills specialize further toward that employer. Your professional network organizes itself around that one industry, and the psychological cost of leaving grows every year. Even when leaving would be the better financial move, here is the core mechanism. A salary is time exchanged for money. That is the complete transaction. You show up, you work, you receive payment. That payment does not grow while you sleep. It does not multiply on a Sunday afternoon. It does not work on your behalf while you are on vacation. It reflects exactly the hours you give, and it stops the moment you stop giving them. This is what Drucker was identifying. The logic of the salary, that security comes from a reliable employer, was designed for a world that now works differently. Companies restructure. Industries shift. Technologies replace entire job categories within a single decade. The people who built something additional before the disruption arrived were in a fundamentally different position than those who did not. I know someone who worked for the same company for 14 years. Good salary, regular raises, real respect from his colleagues. At 41, the company restructured. His department was reduced. He received a severance package and a formal letter of thanks. Within 4 months, he had spent most of his savings. Not because he was careless, because every financial decision he had made for 14 years assumed the salary would continue. His mortgage, his car payment, his children's school fees, all calibrated to one income stream. When that stream stopped, everything became fragile at exactly the same time. He found another job, eventually. But he told me later that those 4 months changed his thinking about money permanently. He said, I told myself that loyalty was an asset. It was not. The only real asset was the income I had never built. The salary is not the enemy. Overdependence on the salary is the enemy. And the middle class, by design, creates that overdependence. The salary covers your costs. When costs are covered, the urgency to build something additional disappears. When urgency disappears, nothing additional gets built. This is not weakness. It is a logical response to a comfortable situation. The comfort removes the pressure. The pressure was the thing that would have built the alternative. Acting with yesterday's logic means believing that a solid salary at a stable employer is enough protection for the next 20 years. Maybe it is. Maybe it is not. The people who build something additional do not have to hope. They already have their answer. Here's the action. Calculate the percentage of your total monthly income that comes from your primary job. For most people, this number sits between 95 and 100%. Write it down. Now answer one question honestly. If that income stopped tomorrow, how many months could you maintain your current life without making a single change? Not a reduced version. Your actual current life. That number of months is your real financial security. Not your job title, not your years of experience, not your employer's brand name. The months. Write that number next to the first one. Together, those two numbers tell you more about your financial position than anything on your resume. Most people plan to start. Planning is not starting. And in personal finance, the gap between the two is not motivational. It is mathematical. Here is the mechanism. Compound interest does not reward patience. It rewards early action. The penalty for late action is not proportional to the delay. It is exponential. Every year you wait is a year that year's returns cannot compound on top of each other. Consider two people. Both invest $500 per month. Both earn the same return. One starts at 25. The other starts at 35. The person who started at 25 ends with roughly twice as much money at retirement. Same monthly amount, same return rate, 10 years earlier. The difference is not 10 years of contributions. The difference is what those early years compounded into. I understood this at 25. I did not feel it yet, and so I did what most people do. I told myself I would start when things were more stable. when I had more to invest, when I had more clarity. Each reason felt real. Each one cost me time I did not get back. And in compounding, time is the one resource that cannot be replaced with money later. Here's the thought pattern that creates this delay. The human mind does not naturally feel things that are far away and invisible. 30 years from now is not real the way this month's expenses are real. A retirement account in 3 decades is not as vivid as a vacation next summer. So we consistently undervalue future wealth. We consistently overvalue present comfort. And every time we choose comfort now over building now, the future math gets harder. This delay has a specific middle-class version. It is not, I will start when I am rich. It is, I will start when I have more. When the mortgage is smaller, when the car loan is finished, when the children's fees decrease. These feel like reasonable milestones, but each milestone has another one behind it. The costs of middle-class life always expand to meet whatever income arrives. The start-when moment never naturally appears. It has to be decided with imperfect information, at a moment that does not feel quite right yet. Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner for more than 50 years. He said something on this topic that I have not forgotten. He said most people underestimate the power of time in investing. They overestimate the importance of the amount they begin with. He was pointing directly at this pattern. A smaller amount started earlier will almost always outperform a larger amount started later. Most people spend their careers trying to accumulate the larger starting amount. They would have done better starting with the smaller one sooner. Open your banking app right now. Find your savings or investment account. Look at the balance. Then look at when you opened it. Calculate how many months have passed since you first told yourself you would seriously start building. That gap in months at even a modest return rate is a real number. Not guilt, not failure. Information. And information used now is always more valuable than information used later. Here's the action. Do not wait for more certainty. Open an investment account this week, not a savings account. An investment account, one that holds index funds or similar assets. Move one amount into it now. The amount matters less than the act. The act breaks the start-when pattern. Breaking that pattern, at whatever age you are right now, is worth more than any additional savings you could gather by waiting for the perfect moment. 2 men walk into a bank on the same day. Both leave with $50,000. Both sign the same type of loan agreement. From that moment, their financial lives move in completely opposite directions. Not because of intelligence, not because of luck, because of what each man does with the money he borrowed. The first man buys a car, a good one. The car depreciates immediately. The loan stays. Every month, money leaves his account to service a debt on something worth less than the day he bought it. The second man puts the $50,000 into a small rental property. The rent covers most of the loan payment. The property holds its value. After 10 years, the first man has nothing from that loan except the memory of a car he no longer drives. The second man has an income-producing asset and a loan that is almost paid. Same tool, opposite direction. The middle class has been taught to fear debt. In some ways, that makes sense. The debt most middle-class people carry is consumer debt. Debt used the wrong way. Credit cards, car loans, furniture bought on installment, vacations financed with a personal loan. Each of these is debt used to fund consumption. And debt on consumption is a guaranteed loss. You pay interest to borrow money to buy something that loses value. The math only works against you. But the debt itself is not the problem. The direction is the problem. Wealthy people use the same banking system, the same interest rates, the same loan structures. They borrow to acquire things that produce income. A rental property, a business, equipment that generates revenue. The debt is still debt. The interest is still interest, but the asset on the other side generates income and can grow beyond the cost of the loan. Andrew Carnegie built one of the largest industrial empires in history using borrowed capital. He did not wait until he had enough savings to build a steel mill. He understood something specific. The future production of the mill was worth more than the cost of borrowing to build it. He borrowed against what the asset would produce, not against what he had already saved. That distinction separates two financial worlds: borrowing against future production, borrowing against present consumption. They use the same bank. They lead to completely different outcomes. Most people in the middle class are already in debt. The question is not whether you have debt. The question is which side your debt sits on. A loan that funds a car you drive to work sits on one side. A loan on a property that generates rental income sits on the other. A credit card balance from a vacation sits on one side. A business loan that produces monthly revenue sits on the other. The amount of debt matters less than its direction. This is not a reason to borrow carelessly. It is a reason to think differently about what you borrow for. The middle class avoids debt emotionally, or uses it unconsciously to fund lifestyle. Neither is a strategy. Before any borrowing decision, one question applies. Will the thing I borrow for put money into my pocket or take money out? If it takes money out, you are on the wrong side. If it puts money in, the loan may actually be working for you. Here is the action. Write down every debt you currently carry. Include the monthly payment and the original reason for each loan. Then write one word beside each one: asset or liability. Apply the test honestly. Not what feels right, what the cash flow says. For most people in the middle class, the majority of debt will sit on the liability side. That is not a verdict. It is a starting point. A diagnosis is only useful if it changes what happens next. Nobody plans to stay exactly where they are, but almost nobody plans how to leave. This is the final trap, and it may be the most invisible one, because it does not feel like a trap. It feels like patience. It feels like I'm building towards something. I just have not mapped the exact path yet. While that feeling holds, the years pass. The salary continues. The assets that would create a real exit never get built, and the exit remains an intention rather than a structure. Here is the financial reality. The middle class has one exit strategy. Most people do not even recognize it as a strategy. That exit is retirement. Save enough over a long career. Receive a pension or draw from savings. Stop working. For a small number of people, under specific conditions, this works. For most people, it is a delayed version of the same problem. Instead of salary dependence, it becomes savings dependence. Instead of needing the job to continue, you need the savings not to run out. Different pressure, same fragility. A real exit has one definition. You have at least one income stream that continues without your daily effort. A rental property with consistent tenants. A small business that runs without you in it every day. An investment portfolio generating regular income. A product that sells while you sleep. These are not fantasies. They are specific financial structures, and the difference between people who build them and those who do not is rarely intelligence. It is rarely opportunity either. It is decision and priority. I know this because I lived the other version for too long. I had a salary, a growing lifestyle, and a vague plan to figure out the exit later. A comfortable version of having no plan. Every year I told myself I would build something additional. Every year the salary was stable enough to keep the urgency quiet. Then real pressure arrived, the kind I had not chosen. That forced me to start actually building, not planning to build. The lost years were expensive, not because the money was gone, because the compounding time was gone. I want you to feel that before you have to pay for it. Here is why the exit never gets built while the salary is comfortable. Building an alternative income requires three things: time, energy, and capital. All three are already spoken for. Your time goes to your job. Your energy follows your time. Your capital goes to lifestyle. Nothing is left for the exit. Not because you are failing, because the structure is designed to consume exactly what you produce. It leaves nothing over for building a way out. The people who build the exit anyway make one specific decision first. They decide the exit is not optional, not a bonus if conditions improve, a requirement. And once they treat it as a requirement, they find the time, they find the capital, they find the first step, not because conditions became perfect, because they stopped waiting for that. Here's the action. Name one income stream you could realistically build in the next 5 years. Be specific, not some kind of business. A specific one, not something online. A specific product, service, or asset with a real name. Then write down 3 steps that would move you toward it in the next 90 days, not the full plan. 3 steps only. A first contact to make. A first account to open. A first hour of focused work to schedule. The exit is not built in one decision. It is built in a series of specific, consistent ones. Start the first step before this video ends. Not theory. Real ones. The ones that happen most often after someone understands these lessons and decides to act. I have made at least 2 of them. Mistake 1. Moving too fast after the insight. When you understand that your comfortable life is costing you, the natural response is to change everything immediately. Sell the house. Quit the job. Move all savings into investments overnight. I did a version of this. In a short period, I made several large financial moves driven by urgency that felt like clarity. Some were wrong. The cost was not just money. It was months recovering from decisions made with incomplete information. Nobody makes good decisions in a state of sudden urgency. Give the insight time to settle before you give it your savings account. The fix is patience. Make one change at a time. Let each one settle before the next. Real financial change is not a sprint. It is a series of sustainable steps taken over time. Fast movements made in an emotional state tend to go backwards before they go forward. Mistake 2. Trading the salary trap for a self-employment trap. Many people hear these lessons and start a business, but the business they build still trades their time for money directly. They are no longer an employee, but they are still a single source income that stops the moment they stop working. This is not freedom. It is the same mechanism with more risk and fewer protections. I have watched smart people leave good salaries to build businesses that gave them less freedom than the jobs they left. The asset is the system, not the labor. The fix is to design any income source with systems in mind from the beginning, not a job you own, a system you operate, a rental with professional management, a product that sells without your daily presence. Ask before you build, will this run without me one day? If the honest answer is no, redesign it before you start building. Mistake 3. Cutting lifestyles so aggressively the whole plan collapses. After the period I described at the start of this video, I tried to cut my spending from high to very low in one step. I set a savings target that was technically correct and practically impossible to hold. The budget broke within weeks. The restriction created pressure. The pressure created spending. The guilt made it worse. The fix is not a perfect plan. It is a sustainable one. A 10% savings rate held consistently for 2 years builds more real wealth than a 50% rate that fails in 3 months. Start with what holds. Raise it slowly. The goal is not maximum effort for 1 month. The goal is consistent effort for 10 years. If I had to choose one lesson from everything in this video, it would be the first one. Not because the others do not matter. They all do. But the comfort ceiling is the root of everything else. It is why lifestyle inflation goes unchecked. It is why the asset illusion feels acceptable. It is why the salary never gets supplemented. It is not just one problem. It is the condition that allows all the other problems to grow quietly around it. I know what it feels like to earn a solid income and still feel stuck, to look at the account at the end of the month and not understand where it went, to work hard and feel like you are building towards something that never quite arrives. That feeling is not weakness. It is the natural result of a system that was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you comfortable enough to keep participating in it. I spent years in that pause. I told myself I was being careful. I was being responsible. But I was standing still in a river that only moves one direction. The people who built something were not luckier than me. They were earlier. And earlier in this game is everything. Here's what I have learned. Comfort is not the reward. It is the pause. The pause is useful. Rest is real. But a pause that becomes a position ends forward movement, and in personal finance, stopping moving forward means falling behind, quietly, slowly, without alarm. You have more capacity than your current situation is using. You are not stuck because you are not smart enough. You are not stuck because you did not work hard enough. You are stuck because no one gave you the framework. And frameworks, once seen, cannot be unseen. The path was always there. Start with one thing: the savings rate, the investment account, the honest list of what you own versus what owns you. One real step, taken today, before the comfort settles back in and tells you that you already have enough. You do not have to build everything at once. Build the first thing, then the second, then let time do what it does when you point it forward. The number in your account right now is not your verdict. It is just where you are. It is not where you have to stay. If today's lesson stayed with you, press subscribe. Not for me, for you. So the next lesson finds you.